What's going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Tuesday, May 7th, and I got to apologize to my co-hosts out of the gates. We are actually not having technical difficulties on Instagram. I forgot to hit the go live button. So I also have to apologize for the audience for being 1 minute late, but we're here to break down Monday Night Raw, talk all about it, and I've got a sweet crew riding with me. I got to send this one up to the DMV. The Tuesday Night Delight himself. Already the comments on fire. David Maj has his twos up not once, but twice. Tuesday, throw the twos up. Yes, absolutely. Shad's in the building. What's up, Shad?
Like they say, the city of New York, city so nice they named it twice. That's how it is for David Maj in the Tuesday night. I'm good, bro. Monday Night Raw was spectacular in my opinion, and I'm excited to talk about it. So let's get into it.
I'm stoked to get into it. Absolutely, 100%. But before we do, we also have one more on today. Um, Philadelphia. You guys aren't both from Philly, but you're both Eagles fans. So I might get ganged
Go
up on if this delves
Birds!
into NFL talk. I'm totally kidding. You can't really do that after that whole Super Bowl victory, but that's neither here nor there. I got to send it out to Philadelphia to a good
Well, I'm about
friend of
to
mine,
remove
Josh
you,
Markowitz.
dog.
What's up, dude?
That wasn't right. That wasn't right. But what's up, Clark? Yeah, I'm fired up to be here. Like Shad said, Raw was spectacular last night. It was top to bottom, great show. So I was really excited to realize when I was on the show today, because I didn't even realize I was on the show until I looked today, and I was like, oh, I'm on the show. We got a fire show last night, so I'm ready to talk about it. Let's get into it. Yeah.
Let's get right into it for sure. I apologize for the low blow about those birds. You guys are still
You know I
great.
can remove you,
Um,
right? I
No
definitely can
birds.
remove you from this.
See, I never should have given you that moderator key. I'm kidding. I knew that this whole time, Shad. That was going to get me in trouble down the road somewhere. No, but let's get right into Raw from last night. And let's make up first. Never mind. Let's talk about a group potentially making up with each other. The Judgment Day. Are they cool with each other? Maybe. I don't know. Seemed pretty mature. Damian Priest to accept the apology. That does not take away the fact that he had the red bandana this Saturday, merely 56 hours ago, in his back pocket, and not a purple one. Doesn't change much for me, but the promo was fascinating because this journey isn't quite over yet. This story isn't quite over yet. Shad, I got to get your thoughts on it. Who's going to be the good guy? Who's going to be the bad guy? And when do they finally split up? Because that part of it does feel inevitable at this point.
It does feel inevitable, and we spoke about it briefly yesterday on Mailbag Monday, um, where it feels like they're leaning, realistically to Damian Priest going the baby face factor. It may be a case where Damian Priest is honing into this entire leadership role, right? He wants to be the head of the Judgment Day, reminiscent of what Bailey and Damage Control is, to be honest with you, right?
Yep.
Ego tripping at times can come off as being selfish, conceited, but at the end of the day, he has a bigger picture for Judgment Day. He wants success. He wants them to be the premier group. And it may be a case where his fellow quote unquote allies are going to not be here for the ego tripping and they're going to put their foot down. And it's always odd to me because I feel like in that realm, I'm going to side with Finn, JD, and Dominic, right? Because even yesterday, we had Dom trying to get reinforcements, coming out with Carlito trying to be like, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, I need help. Damien completely shrugging it off. Now, his reason for shrugging it off, I understand. Carlito is the reason why he lost to Bad Bunny at Backlash last year.
Yep.
But regardless, it's a reoccurring thing where Dom tries to bring in somebody, Priest shrugs it off. We can't ignore how he treats JD McDonough. He's always never, fully embraced him into the Judgment Day. And there's just that tension from him and Finn that never broke from when Finn had the title match against Seth and Priest had in the bank early on. Where Finn is like, I don't think you want me to win this match because you want to cash in and get your opportunity. So in that case, I think it is painting it to be a picture where Priest is gonna come off as the baby face and these guys are the heels, but I would flip it around, bro. You know,
Yeah.
I'd ride Dom off on a storyline. Dom's focus isn't with Damian Priest, and it never has been with Damian Priest. Dom's focus is with Rhea Ripley. Dom needs to focus on the Liv Rhea situation. I think the main focus is getting Finn back as a baby face and him being the ultimate baby face in the end situation with him and JD,
Right.
where Damian is ill. So I would go that direction, but you never know with the WWE.
Well, and that is to your point. The initial breakup, not even breakup, but the changing of the guard for the Judgment Day back in the day was Balor kind of being the de facto leader and everybody turning on Adam Copeland, Edge, at that time.
Right.
So it'd be
That's true.
kind of almost like repeating the same cycle if now the de facto pseudo leader Priest is the one that's turned on, because they're not going to turn on Ripley. There's no payoff for that, right? We're not going to have the whole
Exactly,
Judgment
and
Day
that's
beat
that's
down
the that's the
Ripley.
difficult factor is because you can't have a Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest match, right? Like we look at Rhea Ripley as the
Right.
leader of the Judgment Day, but yeah, there is not a payoff to that.
That's the hardest part about this, I think. And that's where it's to your point, deciding which side should be the baby faces and which side should be the heels is that much more difficult. So, Josh, I'm going to ask you, how, if you had the pencil, would you book this? How do you book the breakup of the Judgment Day? But before that, your thoughts on last night's promo.
Yeah, it's very complicated and it's tough. 100%. You and Shad really hit that on the mark there, because it's weird to think about who would be the baby face and who would be the heels, because it could go a lot of different ways. I mean, I think when we saw them open the show, I think the assumption among everyone was that we're going to see them break up, or get closer to breaking up, because we saw Priest kind of push around Balor and push around JD after his match at Backlash, and understandably so, because he told them not to come out and assist him, and they did. So I understood that part. However, it was kind of the opposite. We kind of saw Priest apologize, give a big hug, which is again pushing towards that baby face like of Priest. Like, I get that there's allies, but still, when he's, instead of being mad at them, he's hugging them. It seems like they're just pushing towards that baby face, and then we see a later segment backstage, and Priest seems like he's 100% taken over as the leader in this group without Ripley. But what's odd is you got Dom, you got JD, you got Finn, all of them major heels right now. They'll do whatever it takes to win. They'll cheat. They'll do whatever. Then you got Priest, and recently he's been very different. He's been pushing close to that baby face. Like I said, he wants to go out there and win on his own. He doesn't want any tricks to come out of the sleeves. It's something that's kind of the opposite of what this faction has been about for the last 4 years. So if I had the pencil, man, I don't know. I personally, would I love to see Finn become face again? Absolutely, because I just can't stand, and I'll go into this later when we talk about the men's King of the Ring matches, but I just can't stand seeing Finn lose anymore. I really can't. He's a top talent in the company, even in the whole industry of pro wrestling, and he just keeps losing and losing and losing and losing. And I think that's because he's in this faction and he's not the leader of this faction. So he's kind of on the more, not bottom of the totem pole, but he's almost there when it comes to Judgment Day because of his win-loss record. He just keeps losing, and I've had enough of it. So, would you make Finn the face and go into a segment with Priest? That would be great, but I don't know if he would win that program, honestly. When it's Finn versus Priest, I feel like you're going to have Priest win. He's holding the title. Even if he doesn't have the title anymore, I still feel like Priest is going to come out victorious in that whole segment that they run, just because he's been the champ. But I don't know. It seems like the way they're going is Priest is going to break apart from this group sooner than later. Whether it's not for the title, whether it is for the title or not, I think a Priest Balor program would go very, very hard. And I think every fan is down to see Priest become a face again. I think we saw a little glimpse of it in his early main show runs with especially with Bad Bunny WrestleMania. But it's interesting, Priest has been a heel for a while now, but he's over. I do think he's over, especially even as a champ. Like, many people wouldn't have predicted he'd be the world heavyweight champion right now. And although I do think he's a transitional champion, it's still interesting to see that he is actually over as the champion. And I don't think a lot of people expected that. So I'd actually like to see how he could do if they transform him into a face and then we kind of see him versus the Judgment Day. We see a little program there. But I'd be excited for that. But honestly, either way it goes, whether Balor is the face, Priest is the face, I think either way we should definitely see someone break up and then fight against each other, because I think that'd be a great program. But it's complicated. But overall, the way it seems it's going is Damian Priest is turning face sooner than later.
I agree with you on that. And here's another thing that I'm going to add to this conversation. And when it comes to Finn Balor, I'm a huge fan. And one of my favorite things about him is the demon character. And that demon character has been damaged. You talked about the win-loss record being disappointing. He has been damaged by Judgment Day, and everyone else has been elevated. And to me, that's wrong. Only way to right that wrong is put his back against the wall, force him to become the demon, and right some of those wrongs. Because I loved the match with Edge. And I, at that time, thought Edge should go over at WrestleMania 39. That's the last time we saw the demon Finn Balor. But if we can bring the demon out of this, and I'm wondering, it's funny because not too long ago, I was watching the Bloodline storyline and noticed Sami Zayn was always wearing the one generation old Bloodline t-shirt in relation to the rest of them. Then they did the honorary Uce, right? I'm wondering if Priest having the red rag in the right pocket and not the purple one is a subtle tell when it comes to the demon. That's one of those, a motif that I would not be opposed to. Because I also think it's one of the most valuable things about Finn Balor. Maybe they both go to a different place. You have the demon Finn Balor against another version of Priest. Now we're basically doing bookception, but but I do like the idea.
Punishment Priest, yeah,
absolutely.
Martinez, yeah.
And then we've got over in the comments here, David Modge with, I think things are gonna push Finn to the edge. And then he said maybe when the Wyatt 6 comes, they will bring the demon out of Finn. Ooh,
it's interesting.
That is a fun idea. And I like fun ideas. But honestly, we're a little early, but we saved ourselves some time for later. Let's move on to our next topic of the afternoon here. And this is a really, really fun one. Because CM Punk pulled the old okey doke. He pulled the old okey doke on Drew McIntyre. He wasn't there. He was running behind. He had other prior obligations. And McIntyre, week by week, just gets that much more frustrated. He's losing his mind. He can't get his hands on this guy. He can't even find him. And then CM Punk casually walks out, does his thing, and cuts an absolutely outstanding promo. I think it's maybe one of his best since he's returned to WWE. If you haven't seen Ben Allison's Allison analysis about it, he breaks it down to a T. This promo was, I think, Punk's best since he's returned to WWE. And I know I just repeated that, but Shad, I got to ask you, were your thoughts the same? And how excited are you for Punk McIntyre down the road? That is going to be explosive.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a strong promo from CM Punk. Of course, he had to get the little bit of won't call it a shot, but a little bit of a poke in the bear at the obvious with the whole brawl out footage coming out saying he's a choke artist, but not like how I'm a choke artist. I thought that was clever. Oh, how he was able to tie that in. But I'll be honest with you, man. It has me in intrigue because the storyline between these two gentlemen has been eventful and it's been fun. I think Drew McIntyre and CM Punk completely diverted my attention to what I wanted to see CM Punk go through, man. I wanted CM Punk to initially have a feud with Seth Rollins with all the, just heat between these guys playing off of what happened last year at War Games Survivor Series. But just how Drew is playing is told of just being completely fed up with him, being a hater towards him, and then Punk, as of late, being able to get his redemption. I think it's mapped into a good storyline overall within these two guys. Of course, like you said, one of Punk's strongest promos, I think, he was able to check all boxes in regards to progress this feud. I'm super curious to see when we're gonna do this though. We have two international pay-per-views coming up. We have one particularly in, Drew McIntyre's home country. Now, is CM Punk healthy where we can have that match? Possibly. Is that a match that can probably be the main event? Without a doubt. But you really, really put yourself in a corner where who wins that, right? Obviously, the best bet would be, oh yeah, Drew has to get his moment. He didn't get his moment against Roman last year or 2 years ago, whatever that may be, and Clash at the Castle. This is his moment. He has to get a victory at Clash in Scotland. Or do we continue the story of
Yeah.
what Drew McIntyre has gone through and the opportunity just slipping out of his hand every single time? Do we kick the can and continue it? Because I personally would be beyond intrigued to see him lose at home to one CM Punk. It extends the story however you do it, and it adds an additional layer to this Drew McIntyre character where we might get the Scottish psychopath out of it. It might be the last straw for a ticking time bomb, and he just goes complete. He adds this character to another element, and that would be intriguing. Also, it does this. It lets CM Punk play the heel, bro. CM Punk gets to be the heel, taking a win from the hometown hero at Clash. I'll be intrigued by it, but I'm loving everything about it. It's definitely one of the more intriguing storylines going into pro wrestling. Yeah, man, I'm here for it.
Shad, you've inspired me. First, I'm going to read a few comments, but you just inspired me. I've got, like the Grinch, I've got a wicked, awful idea, but it's going to be good. We got hi, how are you over on Twitch from Stephus Lounge. Good, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. David Modge with Punk is getting over with the fans big time. I think Punk's over with the fans big time, to be honest. And then Wrestling Takes. What's up, Takes? Yo, good to see you again. Always. Okay, I've got a wicked awful idea though, Shad, based on what you just said. How about this? Main event Clash at the Castle in Scotland, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, maybe even Damian Priest holding a title still. Who knows? Maybe. Just saying. Possible. Opening match of the night, Bloodline turns on Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman costs Drew McIntyre the match and realigns with CM Punk. Double turn in Scotland. Slips him something.
God,
The title belt.
That's insane.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, I kind of got goosebumps. I'm like, that would be absolutely wild. Would it not? In the opening match of the night, they turn on Heyman
that they can do,
and they kick him out of the Bloodline. Then he shows up in the main event and robs Drew McIntyre and realigns with CM Punk. Whew.
But then do we see a face Paul Heyman? Is that your idea here?
No, it's the double turn. They're heels. It's Heyman and Punk are heels.
Punk's a heel again.
And then McIntyre, because he's in his hometown, he'll already be being cheered despite being the heel going in the way he's been booked thus far. It's a logical time to double turn. Now you have McIntyre back on the chase, which is where he was at his finest, chasing down Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36. And unfortunately, it happened in front of no fans. If it does happen in front of fans, we're probably in a much different position with Brock Lesnar at this point. I'm sorry, with Brock Lesnar, with Drew McIntyre at this point, after the win against Brock Lesnar. If that happens at Raymond James Stadium, right, it completely changes the trajectory of Drew's career. And I think that's part of the story they're telling here. So as much as the heel work has been excellent, I think we're getting close to actually a flip, because it's really easy for Punk to make that flip and flip that switch. That would be really exciting. David Modge in the comments absolutely says that would be wild. Yeah. And he goes, holy bleep, I never thought of Heyman realigning with CM Punk. And then he said that would be wild. It would. Absolutely. It would be something that would totally be exciting. Speaking of wild, though, let's talk about our partners and our good
Let's talk about our partners with Next Level. Since something
We
happened
had a
to
glitch. We had a glitch.
Clark's
We had a
connection,
glitch. It wasn't
Yeah.
actually a connection thing. I put too many
it's is
hands on the trackpad. Huge mistake. Anyway,
go ahead.
we've got our partners over at Next Level. Go to nxconnect.me/Western Republic to see all of our content across all platforms linked all in one place. We've got monster giveaways. You can get $100 to WWE shop. Go enter, go check our Connect link out. This giveaway is going to be sweet. If you need $100 worth of WWE gear, why not enter? It's absolutely free. No gimmicks, no nothing. It's fun. We got awesome content all over our stuff. Check it out. Go to nxconnect.me/Western Republic and you'll love it. I assure you. But let's keep talking about Monday Night Raw. No question. Let's talk about the Becky Lynch interview with Liv Morgan, Josh. Becky and Liv, I love this rivalry. It's one that we've been asking for a few weeks. We're finally getting it. Josh, your thoughts on the rivalry? Do you think there's any chance we see the upset? Liv Morgan over the man herself, Becky Lynch, in the near future?
I think absolutely there is definitely a chance. So I'll get to that, but the segment itself was interesting. We had a sit down interview with Becky Lynch and Michael Cole, and if you've been watching wrestling for I don't know 3-4 months now, you know that any sit down interview in the ring is getting interrupted. So the second I saw this, I said, all right, someone's coming out, and yep, Liv Morgan came out. And it was after a few minutes of Becky chatting about her Kentucky Derby outfit and whatever else they were talking about. Liv Morgan comes out, and this is a whole new side of Liv Morgan, and I personally love it. I think Liv's mic work has been way better recently, and for me, it was definitely a concern of her character in the earlier years of her being on the main roster. But now I think I feel more invested in her promos. This was definitely one of her better ones she's delivered, and I definitely noticed that. So that was great. And Liv says she has her purpose in the promo, which is, getting on revenge to Rhea Ripley and winning that championship. So do I think there's a chance that Liv Morgan could win? 100% yes, especially because this title was won due to it had to be relinquished. So the story and the storylines are a bit, tweaked now because of that had to happen. Rhea Ripley had to relinquish the title, so Becky just won it back. But yeah, so Liv Morgan went to social media and she posted a picture of herself on Instagram, a casual, normal picture. However, you look closer, you zoom in on her pocket, and she just may have the Judgment Day bandana in her pocket. It is a pink, not a pink, purple bandana. And I saw it, and then I read through the comments. Everyone's going nuts. Is this Judgment Day bandana? Is this, is she lining with Rhea Ripley? Is this all mind games? What is it?
Read that one for us, Josh, real quick.
I think David Maj, I think Liv Morgan had a purple thing in her pocket in a picture I just saw. Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
It was this purple bandana. So was this just simple mind games that Liv was playing, or is Dom getting a new mommy soon? So this is what I thought about. Right now, Rhea Ripley is off TV. I can picture Liv Morgan entering the Judgment Day, making Dom fall in love with her, especially because, Dom can't even wrestle right now. So this would be a great way to get Dom intertwined with TV and more storylines. Let's get Liv Morgan making Dom fall in love with her. Then it would even heighten this rivalry between Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Maybe we even see Dominic's second custody of Dominic ladder match at SummerSlam. The second one of his career for custody of him, Liv versus Rhea in a ladder match. I don't think that would actually happen, but I think it would be hilarious. But I think this is a great way to heighten the rivalry.
Josh, that's the fantasy booking of the century.
Yes.
Second, I'm sorry not to cut you off because you were rolling, but let me get this straight. A second ladder match for the custody of Dominic Mysterio between Ripley and Liv Morgan. This is outstanding.
Yeah.
That is.
First one happened in DC. Now. Remember that at the MTS Center.
Book it now. By the way, I love speaking of Derby outfits, I won my second straight trifecta on the Derby this weekend. So monster shout out Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins for dressing to the nines at the Derby. That's my dream sporting event to go to, ironically. I'm a huge fan of the ponies, but dude, you are so spot on when it comes to that. That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Liv, the tease, it's off the charts. It makes perfect sense. But let's get into some matches.
Yeah.
We've got kind of a bracket, more of a round robin, right? We had Io Sky and Natalia. We had
It's a
Ivy
bracket.
Nile and Zoe Stark. I didn't think it was officially. I was told yesterday by Ben Allison that the matchups weren't confirmed on which would face which of the winners. So correct me if that was corrected on last night's show, then I am wrong. But
Yeah, yeah. There's a bracket now. There's a bracket with
so we do
advancements
know.
to it.
Either way, we've got
Yeah.
Zoe Stark with Z360 defeating Ivy Nile. And then in the other match, we've got Io Sky with the moonsault for the victory. This bracket now is going to be outstanding, Shad. I got to ask you, who's your pick on the women's side? Who's the new queen of the ring?
Well, obviously the SmackDown side probably has the Queen of the Ring because it's always tiffy time around these parts. But we'll get to that on another show. In regards to the matches last night, bro, I thought it was refreshing to see women's wrestling get the respected amount of time and also a respected amount of matches on Monday Night Raw. And I thought the matches were stellar. Natalia versus Io Sky was an incredible match. And you and I last week spoke about Natalia and the great work she had against Lola Vice. Natalia has gone back to back, showing us why she is the, you know, quote unquote boat with women's wrestling, and she's just so good at providing phenomenal in-ring matches within so many different type of opponents. Last week she had a underground match, a shoot blood sport match with Lola Vice. Last night she had a banger technical match with Io Sky on Monday Night Raw, where they're submissions, high flying, strong strikes, all of that. I thought they had a great match. Io reminding us why she is one of the best in the business, and she got a victory. Um, we also had a great match with Ivy Nile and Zoe Stark. I think both women are growing into their role on Monday Night Raw and into this women's division. And I think Zoe's going to provide a great match versus the person that I was most proud of last night, Clark. Now, you guys know I am a Tuesday night NXT fan, and
No,
I'm
don't do it. I was going to
always.
introduce this one. Shad. The third match, don't think I forgot, was Lyra. Lyra gets the win.
Oh
I
yeah,
introduced
yeah.
the other two. I was going right back to you here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. My bad.
Valkyria,
My bad. My bad.
can she pull the upset and win the Queen of the Ring fresh off of the NXT roster? We cover it every Tuesday night, and I apologize for cutting you off, but I'm going directly back to you to ask if that's the case.
Oh yeah, I apologize for that. I am going to give y'all my hot take. I think Lyra Valkyria should win the Queen of the Ring tournament. I think it can do wonders for this superstar and it can put her on the map as we move her to the main roster. I think Lyra of Bell for Bell being able to match up with any woman in WWE. She did it with Rhea. She did it with Becky. It will be an easy transition, and it only elevates the character that she is. Lyra very, you know, has a very renowned character, right? She has a bit of the
Yeah.
element that can play a queen, and it will be a serious factor. We've had gimmicky kings and queens characters for the last few years. Lyra can take that title and it can mean something, and it can add the extra battery to her back to have a main stage potential main event woman on your roster because that Raw roster needs more main event women, and I think she has all the potential to do that. So if I'm booking it, I'm writing her to beat Zoe. I'm writing her to beat Io, going 2 for 2 on damage control, and then I have her winning the entire Queen of the Ring tournament in Saudi and crowning Lyra Queen of the Ring.
I love that call. That's a fun one. Although I will say, we got a comment here from David Modge. Tiffany Stratton is going to be hard to beat, though. And what I will say is, Shad, obviously,
I would have Tiffany not. I would have Tiffany not go to the finals. You know who I would have her beat in the finals? David versus Goliath. Beat Nia Jax.
I like it a lot. Here's my thing with Tiffany Stratton. She's already the queen. That's who she is. Does she need to add a crown to her character? Right? I don't think so. I think it would benefit Lyra more. And I'd just be excited to see it. That is a pick that I agree with. Let's move over though to the men's side of the bracket. Let's talk about, we had 3 matches and I picked almost all of them right, except for that main event. Jey Uso moves on in the tournament. Josh, we've got then Gunther and what I thought was borderline match of the night. Ilya Dragunov and Ricochet blew the roof off the place. Dragunov goes over, 3 big wins. What do you think about this for the men's side of the bracket? Who do you got winning on the men's side? And what do you think it means to their character, pending who your choice is?
Yeah, so I know I think we're gonna talk about Sheamus and Gunther by itself after this, so I'll just keep this just to Balor and Uso and Dragunov Ricochet. But luckily, those 2 matches were enough to even talk about for an hour. So, just to quickly start about the Allison analysis, Ben Allison broke this down completely well, and he did a great job because last night was some of the best in-ring work we've seen on a Raw, maybe ever, and definitely in the last couple years. I mean, that's what's so great about the King of the Ring. I feel like I feel like when we get like random one-on-one matchups, this happens a lot in AEW. People kind of complain like, oh, there's no storyline, there's no this, there's no that. But King of the Ring, you can put 2 random guys together. But since for the King of the Ring, they can just put on an absolute banger. They don't need to have issues with each other. It's just 2 great wrestlers going head to head, and that's what I love about the King of the Ring. And that was so great about Monday. This Monday Raw was that we got to see 3 great men's matches and also 3 great women's matches. So just quickly putting that out there, I love the King of the Ring. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. Great time to watch Raw. Great time to watch SmackDown. Starting off with Balor and Uso, though. I mean, I think once we figured out that Uso was involved in the match, I think we knew Uso was going to win the match. But like I said earlier, I can't keep seeing Balor lose. He's a top dog. He needs to start winning. But Jey Uso was just so over. I mean, everyone saw him at Backlash in France putting this up with all the flashlights. That was just insanity. Some of the best crowd work I've ever seen in pro wrestling. And even in the NBA, the Game 7 of I think it was Cavs Orlando, they were playing Uso's theme song and everyone was doing this like at the NBA game. Like this is a worldwide thing that's even extending beyond pro wrestling. And that's what's so great right now about Jey Uso's character. And that's why I just can't see him losing, or I can't see him losing clean anytime now. He's so over. And it was just, it was a good match to continue the Judgment Day issues. However, the Ricochet Dragunov match was on a whole nother level. It really was. On paper, Ricochet Dragunov could be match of the year. And last night in the ring, while it wasn't the match of the year, it could have been match. It could be in the runs for match of TV match of the year. Sorry, excuse me. I mean, start off, Ricochet is just not human. I mean, the things he does in his matches are otherworldly. And I do think people kind of take for granted, being able to watch him perform live. I think he really is one of a kind talent. And, I kind of understand why he doesn't get pushed so far up because, his mic work and his character work isn't exactly there yet. But in ring wise, he is incredible. I think when he retires, the people are going to remember his impact on the sport for sure. And Dragunov, man, I mean, Dragunov has wrestled 2 matches on Raw, and he already stands out from the pack. His intensity and drive is unmatched. His selling is some of the best I've ever seen. And the way his face looks at all times, he looks like a lion that's ready to strike his prey. And the only thing I didn't like about this match was that there were commercial breaks. And that actually made me mad because I couldn't stand sitting there for 3 minutes not watching the match. That's how good it was. It looked like Ilya would literally rather die than lose this match. And that's exactly why I love him and why I love his character. His matches literally feel like wars. And the respect shown after the match was also great to see. So, how do I see this playing out? Dragunov versus Gunter is for sure happening, especially the way they presented Dragunov and Gunter last night, which we'll get into next. But let that match happen. The whole world wants to see it. But overall, it really was a great night of wrestling. On the men's side, I really, really enjoyed it. But Dragunov Gunter A+ match. Sorry, Dragunov Ricochet A+ match, incredible.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you. I thought it was one of the, if not the best match of the night. It was up there. Those facial expressions from Dragunov never get old. It's pretty remarkable, actually, what he's able to do. Like, he could have been a silent film actor in a different era, right? Like the way, the body language, all of that. Like when it comes to the selling,
Yeah.
like it truly does never get old. Let's talk about that match though that you mentioned. That last topic of the afternoon here. Evening if you're over in the UK, but Sheamus versus Gunther. And this was a fill-in, obviously. It was supposed to be a different match, basically. But Sheamus tapping out threw me for a loop. I was thrown. I'm thrown. Because these guys have had slugfests in the past. Absolute battles. And I love the idea of Gunther basically being the bigger version of Bryan Danielson and having like 9 different ways to finish you in a match. But half crab, Sheamus deserved better. That's my only complaint about this match. Because it was a slugfest. They were all over each other. But what this match told me more than any, I feel like it's a little telegraphed. This crown is going to Gunther. And that bothers me. I think it'd be really cool if he won, but I don't want to know it now. And if I was going to complain, that'd be my one true complaint. Josh, I got to ask, do you see similar? Or do you see someone being a legitimate challenger? Maybe an Ilya Dragunov. We know their history. He was the one who cut him down over on NXT for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Dragunov, but is there anybody else in this bracket that you see potentially beating Gunther?
No, there's not. And I am with you. I'm with you here on this whole telegraph thing. While it is annoying that I feel like we do know Gunther's going to win, it's also important to realize that he kind of he doesn't need to win, but he just lost a belt. He just had the longest Intercontinental Championship reign of all time. He just lost his belt, and now there's a whole new thing, King of the Ring. We know he literally is, like, without even giving it like the name of like the tournament, like he pretty much is the king of the ring when it comes to WWE,
Ring
when it comes to pro
General.
wrestling. He is the ring general. He literally is the king of the ring. So now there's a tournament named King of the Ring, and he's involved in it. He just made like a brawler, a guy that literally never says die, tap out with a half crab. Yes, this crown is going to Gunther. And, I think the way to look at this match is the dominance portrayed by both of them, really, but the dominance of Gunther. You look at, real quick, I think this match was predictable. We knew Gunther was going to win, but that's what's important about this kind of match, Sheamus versus Gunther. I think oftentimes when there's matches that are really predictable, people complain. They're not fans. People aren't fans of things being predictable, like you said, Clark. But this type of match, we knew chests were going to be bloody. We knew blacks were going to have handprints on them. We knew exactly that. And we still loved it. And that's what's really awesome about these Sheamus Gunther matches and these slugfests of matches is we know what to expect. We know what's coming, but we're still going to love it. And that's what I love about this kind of stuff. But the important part, like you said, was the finish. Obviously there was the story with Sheamus's injury, which is important to the finish, and
Right.
the Ludwig Kaiser interference. But we see a half crab, a move that is used by many wrestlers as simple submission. But this is not a simple wrestler. This is Gunther. And like you said, Gunther can finish wrestlers with almost anything. And that's what's so awesome about his character. That's how dominant his character is. He does a power bomb. And for some wrestlers, that's just a normal power bomb. It's a 1 count. But for Gunther, that's a 3 count. And that's what's so important about that finish. He made Sheamus tap out after 21 minutes of a heavyweight slugfest. His chest was all bloody, just like we knew it was going to be. He made him tap out and give up. And that's what's so important about this. He does everyday moves, but for him, they're finishers. I mean,
It's so true. I think
yeah.
he's probably the hardest for video game developers moveset
Yeah.
to put into 2K24. Which one do you give the finisher to?
Right.
And like which one's the super finisher? I don't know, man. Like,
yeah.
Are there enough animations for the depth of Gunther's moveset? or Gunther's moveset. Like that's a tall task to say the very least. To your point, like it's so true. David Modge in the comments, this is cracking me up with the Ling General. That's pretty good. And then he added, "Oh, that would be wild if Dragunov wins." It would be. I mean, Dragunov's a legitimate challenger. We've seen it in the past. There's history. People don't forget, in the words of Jonah Hill and Superbad. David Modge added also, yeah, Gunther's gonna win it all. He's technical, man. Yes, so beyond technical. He gets the win over Sheamus. Shad, I'm going to ask you basically the same question because, dude, there's some NXT ties later in this tournament, given the Dragunov stuff that we just discussed with Josh, right? We know about that Dragunov Gunther rivalry. It's one of the best, I think, in NXT history. It might be one of the most underrated too. It's not one we talk about because I feel like it hasn't been long enough. Is this something we're looking at for maybe a potential stealer for WWE Match of the Year?
It is going to be just like how the last rendition of it is. We're going to get a taste of it the first round when they meet in the, I guess, semifinals, and we're going to just be amazed by it. And Gunther is going to win, like he won the first time when they had the matchup. It's one of those cases where you have the guy who's the guy at the moment, and if we're talking about a dominant threat being a champion, Roman's gone. You have Gunther to fill that void for the time being, and you have him filling that void without having gold. Now, I do agree with you guys on that standpoint. It does seem pretty streamlined that he is going to win this tournament. I don't think there's a guy on his side of the bracket, nor SmackDown side of the bracket, that makes more sense for him to beat Gunther. Now, obviously, a lot of people were saying that about the Sami Zayn match at Mania, where that didn't make sense. So anything can happen, but it only adds more stock into what you have. He's still relatively new on the main roster. You got to make him as strong as you can make him. You got the belt off of him because you didn't want him to have the mid card title. This is the next step to get him to that main event world heavyweight championship, realm where he's gonna be. And I personally I'm excited to see King Gunther. He is going to be ego tripping to the maximum. He is going to be a snob. He is going to be bullying Ludwig. He's going to be talking down to everyone. I think it only adds to what he can do, and I think it only adds to the route that he's going to go in. I think he's going to have series of matches that are just going to make people be like, this guy may be the best wrestler in the world, and that goes on all bodies of wrestling promotions. He's up there. He's definitely in the debate for it. In regards to the match, I liked it. I think it was a different style of match, and I think we're seeing the different elements of what he could do as a professional wrestler. I love the in-ring psychology. I thought them, having a banger of a beatdown slobber knocker compared to it being more methodical last night was interesting. Salute to Sheamus, right? Selling that knee, playing off of the in-ring psychology. I thought it was brilliant. And I know he said that there's not going to be a 4. There'll be a 4 down the road. I can't see them not having a 4th match. But I mean, all in all, I'm excited for it, man. And I like the bracket to see who you got next, but it should be good.
It's a little like Holloway Volk. They're destined to fight each other forever. I think for sure. To your point, right? Like they're destined to fight each other for the rest of their lives. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
You're completely spot on. We've got a bunch of awesome comments here too. This is really funny. David Modge goes, he did it before, so there's a chance. Man, I think Dragunov can do it now. And then he goes, nah, Gunther's gonna clobber him. That's how I am. I'm like, Gunther makes the most sense. I think this is, to your point, Shad, and both of you guys' point. I think this is, we saw Dragunov clip him in NXT, right? And this is where I think Dragunov takes him to the brink in their matchup in this tournament.
Yeah.
Maybe the most selling we'll see out of Gunther in the tournament. But I think we're going from the Ring General to the King General. in the near future.
Here's the thing, right? And I know a lot of people are gonna want to fantasy book Dragunov, and in the rightful direction of how I put Lara, it can only benefit him. But him having a star-studded match to the wire with Gunther to this new audience will benefit him, right? And then you keep that in your pocket for when he is going to beat him again on the main roster. It doesn't benefit Gunther at this point. It actually, I can argue, harm him if he takes a loss to Ludwig this early into it, right? So you gotta, we not everybody. I said this on the podcast episode a little while ago. Not everybody can be the guy. Not everyone can be the
Right.
main stage scorer
Mhm.
for the game, right? People got to play different roles, and I think Dragunov is, understanding is smart enough to understand that, and I think his time will come when he gets to revisit that matchup, and they'll do that. I think he's gonna be a shoe in to be the next Intercontinental Champion at some point.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
I think also, if I'm booking it myself, I think we're looking at the same exact finish we saw him get Gunther with. I think Gunther gets him with a sleeper hold a rear naked choke, as I like to
Yeah.
call it as an MMA fan.
And
And the
quickly,
wife go out in Georgia, go right ahead. And then we're
quick-
going home.
yeah, quick take here. I think you could maybe even argue that Ilya taking Gunter to the limit and losing would give him more support from the fans than him actually beating Gunter, because everybody wants to see him
Great
win.
call.
100% agree
garners
with that.
more babyface sympathy than
Yeah.
getting beat but fighting your heart out? That is a great point.
Before you end it off,
Josh, go ahead.
Before you end it off, I think they're gonna do what they were initially doing with Chad Gable with Dragunov when the time is right, and I think
Mhm.
it'll be paid off in that manner.
I like it a lot.
Which is gonna be every single feud for Gunther. I feel everyone's gonna root for the little guy versus him. Poor dude, man.
I know 100%. Babyface Gunther is probably not in our future unless for some reason he has to go away and come back. That's the only reason I think Edge is allowed to be a babyface at this point. He got to it, right? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. But that does finally bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much, everybody that tuned in. On behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Josh Markowitz, Shad Huda, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't liked and subscribed, give us that thumbs up. Subscribe. It means the world to us. We're about to get to 1,000. I wish we had a cool giveaway for it, but we don't. But if you are the 1,000th, you can put that on your resume and I'll back it up for sure. Use me as a reference.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. See you in not that long. Me and Shad will be back for Off the Air. Merely
6 hours.
6 hours from now. 6 hours and 25 minutes from now. And it would be delightful if you tuned into that. So if you don't have Tuesday night fans, order up some tacos, maybe make some tacos. It's Taco Tuesday. Join us for Off the Air immediately following NXT. It'll be a blast. If not, we will see everybody soon and have an awesome Tuesday. Thank you so